Hi everybody, welcome back. Look, if my sound sounds hollow, it is because it is hollow. I'm recording in an empty room. Now, this move is actually turning into a rather traumatic one. The tenant in the house reckons he can't guarantee that he'll be out on the first. Well, sorry, buddy, I paid from the first, and he had more than a month's notice. Then there are other mishaps and things going wrong, but I'm not going to bore you with it. Luckily, I can tell Mr. Birdie all about it, and he makes all the right sympathetic sounds in return. Good old Mr. Birdie. We thought Mr. Birdie was going to fly over the Rainbow Bridge a while back, but he is again full of beans, and the poor old thing. He is well over his sell-by date, and his wife had passed away ages ago. But I do take him out to visit with his mates, the wild doves, the robins, and the Cape sparrows, so that he's not too lonely. Okay, enough about the birds. Let's talk royals. Look, I agree 100% that although they are royals and state funded, there are things we do not need to know. I mean, things like their sex life and toilet habits, and then, of course, certain medical conditions. Indeed, I think, like any ordinary human being, there are things they should be allowed to keep private. However, it does not prevent people from speculating and gossiping. Yes, because we are all human, and it is not ugly or nasty to wonder what is wrong with your neighbor, your butcher, your hairdresser. So, why is it so wrong to wonder what type of cancer the king has or what is wrong with Catherine? In most cases, especially the people that I speak to, the interest is actually genuine. So I spoke to a friend in the medical field, and although I absolutely confess that I have to Google medical terms, she said that King Charles had a TURP with drilling. Now, TURP is TURP, and now that stands for transurethral resection of the prostate, a fairly common procedure. However, equally common are a number of other procedures done at the time, and the inserted scope may even pick something up, or they may have done an MRI to see whether all is well. They may have done biopsies and taken platelets. We don't know. But according to my learned friend, the most common cancers detected during a routine procedure like TURP for the prostate would obviously be prostate cancer, which Buckingham Palace said it wasn't. The other two most common during such a procedure would be bladder cancer or cancer of the kidneys. There are rumors, however, that King Charles has pancreatic cancer, which would be very, very serious. But I must caution you, it is a rumor and absolutely nothing more. Not impossible. I mean, nothing is impossible if the king had indeed had an MRI, but the most commonly detected cancers during such a procedure, if not prostate, would be bladder or kidneys. And the prognosis on bladder and kidneys are actually very good and very treatable. So I guess that my friend is trying to tell us that there is no point in speculating. I've also spoken to some other people locally who are in the medical field because despite Kensington Palace's assurance that Catherine is healing and making good progress, I can't help but worry a little, particularly after William withdrew from the remembrance service for King Constantine. I tried to get behind the gossip because so far all the mainstream media channels are also just guessing and speculating, just like the rest of us. But my 1 years long trusted informant told me that never before, at least not as far back as he can remember, has a palace been so quiet or as quiet as Kensington Palace at the moment. He says leaks are almost palace culture. Someone, somewhere, always hears something, and even if they only tell their hairdresser or grandma, things do leak, but not this time. He says that if you as much as mention Catherine, everybody seemed to clam up. He says that although both Catherine and William's staff adore and respect them, they are a little, just a little careful around William. He is indeed fair and kind, but not someone you take chances with or whose patience you have to test. From other corners, not the palaces, more the private elite set, there are a number of specific rumours, but because of his own loyalty to William and Catherine, he is not going to partake or share that gossip with me or anyone else. He said I should take his word for it that either no one outside of the family knows what's wrong with Catherine, or they are definitely not telling. It is his opinion, though, that we will eventually find out. William and Catherine will share it with the public, but it will be on their terms when and how much of it they would want to tell, and obviously when it suits them. As for William not attending the service, like with Catherine's condition, no one is talking yet, but I'm going to speculate based on a couple of stories from different sources. I was told that Charles left Windsor before the service. Now, this can be for a number of reasons, two of which are that he went off for another treatment, or the people were having tea and scones at Windsor after the service, and he is avoiding larger groups of people. So the king's total absence is indeed understandable and explainable. But what about William? Kensington Palace said it was not due to Catherine's illness, nor to the death of Lady Gabriella Windsor's husband. What I am hearing, a bit here and a bit there, is that William's nerves and frustrations have reached boiling point or breaking point. Charles and Catherine's illnesses have already put pressure on him, but as I'm told by another party, things are not always as they appear to us. Yes, we are told King Charles is stepping back from his public role for a while, but what no one in the media is actually talking about is that he is still dealing with business behind the scenes. He is still opening his red box, still dealing with Parliament, still dealing with the business of his trust and foundation, still dealing with the business of the estates, and so is William. Even though William took time off to be home for the children while Catherine was in hospital, he also still had the business of the Duchy of Cornwall to contend with, the matters concerning Earthshot and Homewards and other meetings and paperwork you and I do not even know about. So, no matter what we think and physically see, the cogs of the wheel keeps turning, and the King and William are indeed part of that wheel. So everything adds up, and I'm told by another party that although there is no immediate danger or panic, like with the Queen, the King has to face his own mortality. And like with the plan named London Bridge, a plan has to be put together for Charles, whether it be in 6 months, 6 years, or 16 years, is not the point. So do not go running off saying, "Oh, Bookworm said the king will be dead in 6 weeks." No, the Queen's funeral plans were in place almost from the day she took the throne. That is just how it works among senior royals and monarchs in particular. The plan for King Charles's death and funeral is named Operation Menai Bridge. Now, make no mistake, Operation Menai Bridge has been in place for many, many years before Charles became king. But now that he is 75 and has cancer, it has to be revisited, adapted, and tweaked. And that, I'm sure, for them, father and son, is indeed stressful and morbid, because whenever it happens, William's life will also change forever. But that's not all. I've received a number of reports over the past few weeks that due to all the upheavals and Charles's illness, William and Charles talk on the phone daily, and more often than not, their differences are becoming clearer. One person told me that in the past there had been explosive disagreements between Charles and William. But obviously, now with Charles being sick, William has to hold back a little. So take everything else and add that, but unfortunately it gets worse. I'm told by yet another party that Charles actually wants a reconciliation with Harry and Meghan. Now, hold on to your horses. I did not say King Charles wants Harry back as a working royal. I think he is far more intelligent than that. And I think he realizes that it will not only be William losing his marbles, but likely a good 80% of Britain if that happens. However, I'm being told that there is some major sucking up and manipulation and sweet talk coming from Montecito, and that contrary to what we may think or being told, the king is indeed quite accepting or willing to strike a peace deal. I'm told the story about Harry wanting to bring Meghan and the children to the United Kingdom in May is not just a story, but a very, very, very real scenario. And from what I'm told, it is not only what Harry wants, but also Meghan. But of course, she has her demands, and her demands include full-on security for her and the children. Allegedly, Meghan is very keen for the king to reconnect, their words, not mine, with the king and forge a relationship with him. Still not my words, but theirs. But that she will not allow any ill treatment by or from the British public, and therefore she basically wants to be barricaded from the public wherever she goes, of course, all at the taxpayer's expense. And talking about that, I have just read that Harry has just lost his case against Homeland Security for additional security by the Met Police. So, okay, now I'm not going to go into why Meghan is so keen to bring the children to a country which she allegedly despises, or why she is so keen for them to meet the old racist king, who, along with his other daughter-in-law, made racist remarks about Archie's skin color. We all know why. One, because it's all nonsense and utter rubbish. And two, the second reason is actually twofold, and you can spell it Money and Inheritence. Anyway, I'm told William is livid, absolutely beside himself with frustration. He cannot and will not comprehend why Charles would even want to use his influence to make this happen. William himself allegedly does not want Meghan Markle within 100 miles from him, his wife, and children. Now, like I said, no one knows for sure, but one of my most trusted sources and one of my longest contributors are both telling me that they think William is close to breaking point when it comes to the entire Harry and Meghan debacle, and his father's apathy and making excuses for them is now becoming too much. My one source, the longest one, says she thinks this latest argument or struggle between William and Charles concerning Harry and Meghan is either going to turn into a full-on media war, and she says that the remarks made by Jobson about William is likely the beginning of Buckingham Palace versus Kensington Palace. Now, Buckingham Palace will brief against William and Kensington Palace will retaliate. She says it will be history repeating itself, just like the media war between Buckingham Palace and St. James's Palace, which later became the media war between Buckingham Palace and Clarence House. She says Charles had no qualms whatsoever to openly disagree and rebel against the Queen by using the media. And the fear is that because he wants to restore the peace with his other son and even have him back in the fold to an extent, he may use the exact same tactics or then instruct his staff to use the same tactics they used with the help and leadership of Mark Boland to restore Camilla's reputation and endear her to the people. I'm told that William knows this and that he likely feels like he has been kicked in the teeth by a mule. It is thus my one informant's opinion that William's withdrawal has more to do with his father, possibly his father and his own emotional state. She says that she thinks that hit piece by Jobson did not go over William's head, and this time there is no way it could have been instigated by Meghan and Harry. It was either Jobson's own personal opinion or, sadly, very, very sadly instigated by Buckingham Palace, namely Charles's staff. Something else she told me. She said there is little proof of it, but it is something she is sensing due to her position and observations. And that is that there is once again, for some reason, some distance between Edward and Sophie and King Charles. She says the Edinburghs are stoic in their commitment to doing their duty, and they are indeed doing a good job. But on a personal, familial level, she says she feels some storm clouds and similar distancing as was experienced in October, I think 2021, when there was some huge family dispute which took on epic proportions. Well, I'm still keeping my ears to the ground, hoping in a way that there are more leaks from Buckingham Palace and Windsor, because it appears Kensington Palace's information lockdown is tighter than ever before. Okay, guys, so that is it for now. Unfortunately, I am unable to hang around waiting for updates. The big move is around the corner, and as always, nothing is going as planned. Many tears have already been shed, but I'm keeping the faith that it will all be worth it in the end. I promise I'll make it up to you next week, and maybe I can even bring you a video from my garden. At least my garden in the new house is a quiet one and not like where we are living now. Okay, guys, so I'm off. Please take care of yourselves until we meet again on the next one. Bye.